Country Confidential.
Kicking it off. How does Jack like the album? What are the dog's initial response? Has he been a good A&R or just a good studio buddy?
He's head of everything. He's head of my label as well. He's heard it a lot. I think he's pretty over it at this point. He's taking a little nap right now. He's had a long day. He woke up, went outside, and now he's back on the bus. So he's worn out from his big walk earlier. I think he's over me in general right now, just because he's been around me a lot. I did just take him to New York City. I took him to all the touristy spots. I've never seen a freaking dog. By the way, New York City, I fell in love with it this week. I've never loved it. And I fell in love with it this week. I've taken him around just because, I don't know, it was just a different thing. I'm probably going to have a song about New York City on my next album. Because that's what I'm realizing. A lot of these things are just experiences in my life. On this album, especially. Arkansas, Hall River was one that I wrote in North Carolina about Hall River, North Carolina. Go Down Singin is what I went through with my label. You in 85 is about my dad. You know, if I could be with you then, or you could be with me now, what would that look like? Two grown men having a beer together. And that changed. That was a healing process for me in general. Like, I sang it like it was a sad song and I couldn't get through it. Oscar came in the studio and he's like, dude, this is a celebration. Like, what would that look like? You and your dad finally being able to look each other in the face as men. And I'd never thought about that since the day I lost my dad. And that was a healing process for me, because now it's like, you don't look at you losing your dad at 22 as a sad thing anymore. It's like, that's created who I am today. The loss of that, it's fucking brutal, but you know, it's going to happen at some point anyway. Yeah. Instead of being so sad about it, think of the happy times you had with him. Also think of how proud he would be of you overcoming the loss of him. You know, that's tough for a kid. But I'm not a fucking kid anymore. I'm 38 years old. So let's move on and let's live a life that he'd be proud of.
I love that.
And that's what you in 85 did for me. It changed the whole mindset on that.
I love that. So the album has 11 tracks. Thank you. I think that's the perfect number because I can actually sit and digest it. So thank you for not a double, triple.
Instead of 38.
Yeah. But how did you land on that number? You know, you just mentioned, you know, you want to write a song about New York because this kind of new era of you is all about experiences. So how did you ultimately land on 11 is kind of the perfect number to sum all this up?
Well, it was supposed to be 6, and it was supposed to be a deluxe to the I Hate Cowboys record. While I was creating this deluxe version of the album, it went from deluxe version to, you know what? Why don't I just leave the label and do a whole new album and call it Go Down Singin? Because that's what's happening right now. Like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to do it on my own. And if I go down, at least I go down singing. Kind of a play on Go Down Swinging. So that's how that turned into a full album. 11 songs. I don't know how we didn't like purposefully do that. I think we just got to a point where it's like, these are enough songs. These amount of songs tell a story. I'm tired of recording. I got other songs we could record, but I'm kind of sick of this. I'm kind of tired of it. 2 albums in 2 years has been a lot for me. And we're going to do a 3rd album next year. So it's like, I guess the biggest part that's been a lot has been the Fireside Sessions, but it's been incredible because I wanted to take the I Hate Cowboys record, the Go Down Singin record, and create a story behind it, which was the picture of my dad. The Go Down Singin picture is a picture of me. And then I want to put us together the first time you see us as grown men together in a picture. And that's going to be the Cowboys and the Go Down Singin record together, all acoustic, featuring every songwriter. That's important to me to feature the songwriters because they're the heartbeat of what we do. And they took the time to write songs with me. That's important, especially when some of them are writing songs for McGraw or Morgan Wallen or whoever. It's like, they took the time to write with me. That means a lot. So yeah, now we have a 3-piece album that tells a story over the last 2 years. It's pretty special. And I'm about to move on from that next year. It's going to be a whole different project, and I don't know what that'll look like. It'll probably be the West Village project. I don't know.
Right. I want to go back to the album. You know, initially Go Down Singin', did you know that was going to be the album title, or was there any creative discussion, or did you go in going, nope, like this is it. This kind of sums it all up.
Go Down Singin' wasn't even recorded on the first day or first session we did for this next album, because like I said, it was supposed to just be deluxe for the Cowboys record. And then when I decided to leave the label that week, and when I was pissed because now it's like I'm not going to chase radio. I want to make the best album that I can possibly make. And if that doesn't become the popular thing, that fucking sucks for me, but I'm not going to change it.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I've chased it. I've done Ready, Set, Roll trying to be Florida Georgia Line and Cruise. I've done Eyes on You trying to be Sam Hunt. Like that was me being a shitty version of myself. And I had success with it, which is the scariest part. We've been very, very thoughtful on how do we create a thing that when people hear it, they're like, that's Chase Rice. And that's where we're at right now. We're finally figuring it out with this album. Started to with the last record, really got it dialed in on this album.
Yeah. Well, I can feel it. I've been a fan like you were, not to age myself, like my college years, but I can definitely feel the switch. And I think for me as a fan that's been with you, through all of your ages now I'll age myself at 30, you're writing songs that I want right now. So, I appreciate kind of the shift, but was there a song that was maybe the most difficult to write, or maybe you had to go back to a couple of times?
You in 85 was difficult to sing.
Yeah.
Like I said, in the studio, it was like I thought of it as a sad thing. I was literally bawling my eyes out when he came in. I did that vocal and I'm sitting there crying. I'm sad. That was a hard one. It wasn't hard to write though. I remember Lori was like, how are you even going to sing that? And it did not hit me at all until I went in to do the vocal in the studio. And that was the first time I cried to that song. Yeah. First time I heard the mix, I cried because I'm sitting there in my house looking at Reagan on the wall, looking at the vinyl of my dad on the here. I'm like, wow, this is the fucking truest story I've ever told. And just, thinking of my dad, it makes you sad sometimes and it makes you happy. Yeah. So that was a hard one to sing. But like I said, it changed my whole perspective on the healing process of losing him. But it wraps the whole damn thing into a story. It's like, you made me all who I am today, but you never got to know the kid with your face, the man with your face, whatever it says. So if I could have one thing, be us man to man, a couple Coors banquets in hand. Like that is the picture of him. That's the one we recreated, and finally we get to see it on the final fireside sessions of him and I standing next to each other. It puts an exclamation point on the entire three album project that we just got done with. So that's a special one. I'm trying to figure out writing wise, like Hall River, I had a girl named Kayla, little girl from North Carolina. She was standing outside my bus. She said, I'm Kayla from Hall River, North Carolina. And I looked at Blake. I said, I don't know what this is, but we're writing that.
That's a song. Yeah.
Right. Walking to the bar, Blake looked at me. He was like, dude, what if it was a murder song? I said, okay, murder song. She gets her revenge in the end. And I love that. She gets her power is all there. She stands up for her sister. She kills the man that's doing all the wrong, sends them all down the river, gets the fuck out of our lives. Let's go.
I love it. Well, let's switch gears because we're going to talk about my favorite song on the album. That's not that one. I do love that one. But Hey God, It's Me Again. I know you wrote that with Corey and Randy. What was the conversation in the writer's room that day, especially with the chorus? I feel like the chorus kind of stabs you and twists the knife a little bit because it definitely makes you think.
That's an interesting one because it's also the only song that and Arkansas were the only two songs I considered not putting on the album. But that was written before I was really dialed into this new phase of my life. But I went in to write with Corey, who was known as a track guy. He's a great writer, great singer himself, but he does tracks. And that was one of the first songs I remember writing where I was like, man, I'm kind of over this track thing. Let's write it with guitars. And Randy's obviously all about that. He's the best. So we wrote that without a track, and then he, built the thing and sent it, the demo. And when I played it for Oscar, he said, I don't want to hear this shit. Like, I want to hear you on a guitar. Okay. Well, I got that too. So I sent him that. And that was one that we considered putting on the I Hate Cowboys record. For whatever reason, we didn't do it. I considered not doing it for this album. For whatever reason, we did do it. Oscar talked me into it. And I hated it the whole time we were recording. I think it just reminded me of the old version of me. But the more I started hearing it, I remember I heard it the first time in Wyoming. He sent me the mix. We got a mandolin on there. That really changed the dynamics of the song. It's grown on me so much. I think it's going to be a lot of people's favorite song on the album.
It was
And it's
mine. Yeah.
really,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely I was like, oh, like this is different.
really, to me, it's like the old me. I guess that meets the new me. I don't know, but something about it bothered me, and something about it, I got over it. Whatever it was, the first time I heard it, I'm like, holy shit, this is so good. And I truly believe that'll be probably the most popular song on the album, if not one of them. It's an easy listen. It's relatable. It's true story. You know, it's for me, it's like just conversations with God. Like, hey, God, it's me again.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, you're showing up, which is, I think, the best way to go about life. It's like whether you screw up or whether it's good.
Yeah. I love it.
Go to God and talk to him. Talk to him.
I love it. Talk to me about working with Lori. How did that conversation, how did she kind of work herself into the mix and end up being on the track?
Well, Lori wouldn't write with me for years, and it wasn't um in a vicious way, it wasn't in a malicious way. It was just like, you know what, I can't help this guy. And I don't, now that I know her, I'm like, I get it. She can't come in and write Ready Set Roll or Cruise.
Yeah,
she is so much deeper than that. And so when I finally, at Bench Seat, I think was the song that she convinced her to, you know, I really want to write with this guy. And she did. We wrote 4 songs in 2 days, and luckily Oscar was there to really help us hone it in. And first song we wrote was called "Oh Tennessee." Second song was "If Drinking Helped." Third song was "You and 85," and the fourth song was "That Word Don't Work No More." And "That Word Don't Work No More" was the very first idea that I threw out. And so once we were at the 3, she was like, "We didn't even finish that one that you started. That Word Don't Work No More." We wrote that song in 45 minutes. But it was incredible. You know, it was just, "Oh Tennessee" was a perfect start because, first of all, we said "fuck" in it. That got it out of my head that she's this perfect, pristine housewife from Massachusetts. Like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't know, can I cuss in front of her? She's the fucking best. Yeah. And when we threw "fuck bomb" and "Oh Tennessee," it opened up my mind. Like, okay, we can be ourselves here.
Yeah.
And she's just one of the most incredible people. She's the most incredible wife, mom, songwriter. She does it all. She's got freaking 3 Grammys sitting on top of a piano in the living room like it's just collecting dust.
Yeah.
And it was just unbelievable. She had the idea for "You in 85," and that worked perfect. You know, Oscar started the piano part, her idea, and then I spewed out the chorus like that. Easy song to write. "If Drinking Helps," freaking incredible. It's one of my sneaky favorites on the record. I don't know. She just we wrote 4 songs and put all 4 of them on the record. There's no reason not to. They're great songs. Let's go.
I love it. What challenged you the most about this record?
I guess following "I Hate Cowboys" and finally having a little bit of recognition of like, oh, this guy's actually good. He doesn't just sing about girl on a truck on a dirt road. But getting that out of my head of like, oh, now we have to follow up the "I Hate Cowboys" record. That was the biggest thing I think we did really well on. It was like, we didn't overthink it. We didn't say, okay, how do we top the Cowboys record? We were just like, man, let's just put the best fucking songs on that we possibly can and let it speak for itself. And I think people are going to see that. And I think people are going to appreciate this even more than the Cowboys record, because I think it is that much better than the last record. Hopefully we can top it again, but not really worried about that. But I guess just, yeah, not paying attention to the expectation of what's going to follow the Cowboys record.
Yeah. My dad was disappointed there wasn't a "Good Night Nancy" part 2. He wanted me to pitch you "Good Morning Nancy."
Good morning, morning, Nancy. Good morning, morning, Nancy. So good to see you.
I know my dad's like, if you have time to get that in, you got to pitch him "Good Morning, Nancy." So
That'd be funny. Good morning, Nancy.
yeah, right.
So good to see you. Oh,
But
that'd be funny.
I think I just always thought that was funny. You know, my dad and I have really enjoyed listening to, you know, the Cowboys album Around the Fire. And I always love sharing, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the music that I love with my dad. And I love that then, you know, your dad, there's so much connection there as well. So it's really special. So that was the question from dad. But, you know, I know you're out on the road with Dirks. Are you playing any of these new things to kind of test them out with fans? How's that going?
We have been playing Goodnight Nancy, by the way, and we still play Oklahoma. Those are my two sneaky favorites off the last record.
Yep.
And the new Oklahoma, I would say, would be Hall River, probably.
Okay.
Not that they're the same at all, but they just have that vibe where I'm just like, I want to keep hearing them.
Yeah.
And they got the rock, thing at the end. Yeah, we play Hall River live. We played Go Down Singing live a couple times, acoustic. I played Fireside live, so we've done them all right now. Hall River's the one we're playing. Fireside, for whatever reason, I don't know. I just think people don't know it yet or something. I don't know what's going on promotion wise as far as I go. I've seen a lot of reviews and stuff calling it criminally underrated, which I'll take all day over like this sucks and why does everybody love it? The popular music, a lot of it gets shit, but yeah. I feel like this is a very underrated version of my career. Hopefully it spreads and people end up loving it, but I don't know what's happened promotion wise, why it's not blowing up, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to put something out that's not exploding, not becoming the new Zach Bryan thing. But in the back of your mind and the front of your mind, your whole body is saying, doesn't matter, I'm going to keep doing it. That's a fun place to be. Hopefully people gravitate towards it and more people hear it and we can keep going with this thing. But yeah, I don't know what it's going to turn into.
What do you hope your fans learn more about you when they listen to these 11 songs?
I hope they, the storytelling, that's the biggest part for me, I think. Mm-hmm. And I hope they listen to the stories and I hope the stories mean something to them because that means the most to me. Like I said, John Prine is who I was listening to all night last night. And he's the best storyteller in the history of country music, probably. And I didn't even know who the fuck he was 6 years ago, which is embarrassing. But I look back, I'm like, I didn't grow up on him, and nobody showed me who he was. Parents were listening on a jukebox. So the great storytelling of John Prine, I want people to look back on my career and say, man, he was fucking good. I don't know if he was the most popular. I don't know if he sold out stadiums. Doesn't matter to me, but he was insanely good. And that's where I think we're headed. I just want to be respected as a songwriter. I want people to believe what I'm saying. And that's kind of on me, whether I believe it or not, which now I do. I don't think I did for a long time, but now these new songs, I really believe in. And I want them to feel the passion behind these stories and the darkness of them, the joy in them. I just want them to see the truth in these songs and that they're real stories of my life, and that if I'm not doing the best at letting you know who I am in conversation, at least you can go listen to my songs and get to learn who I am that way.
Country Confidential.